Hey everyone, this is a review on a unit circle test, and this is what a typical unit circle test would be. Most teachers will give you 1 minute, 5 minutes, or 10 minutes to complete this, and there's various ways to do it. Now on this particular quiz, what I did is I randomized our 6 trigonomic functions here. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. And I randomize them, and my angle here, I'm using radians versus degrees. And then what I did on the next 4, I just copied down the first 4 here. But then I put different angles in. And also, on the last 2, 9 and 10, I did negatives here. So that means you're going to have to make them coterminal, or there's other ways to do them. So let me give you some hints and tricks on how to finish this up in so many minutes, depending on your teacher. The first way is just to draw the unit circle, and you're going to have to, that would take a long time. Don't forget, the unit circle is just a graphic organizer. It's really about the triangles. For example, if I draw straight down and draw triangles here. So that would be a triangle, and that would be a triangle. So it's really about the triangles. You do have to know your trig functions, where you have an x, y, and your r is 1. It says unit circle, so r equals 1. So that's one method, but that does take longer, so it depends on how many minutes you have. Okay, the other methods are going to be as follows. So I'm going to go through some of the ones of the little quiz I just made and show you some tricks. Okay, so the first one was cosecant of 2 pi over 3. Now I know cosecant goes with sine. So just know that. That's the reciprocal of sine of theta. I'll just put theta, or 2 pi over 3. Okay, so also, if you're still having problems with radians, remember anything with a 3 in it, that's a 60 degree. So if I had 2 in front of that, that means I'm going to times 2, so that's 120 degrees. So when I draw that, my angle's going to be up in here. Let's just say that's 120 here. And then I draw down. Okay, so it's hard to draw in here. But this is your 60, 30, 90 triangle. So for those, the 60s and the 30s, we know the longer side is square root of 3 over 2. That's your y. And your shorter side is going to be 1/2. But since they were in quadrant 2, it's going to be negative 1/2. And then what I do is I just, I don't do cosecant. I do sine. So sine of 2 pi over 3 is your y, which is square root of 3 over 2. And then I just flip it for cosecant. So you flip that, and that's going to be 2 over square root of 3. So that's basically your answer. So cosecant of 2 pi over 3 equals 2 over divided by square root of 3. Now, of course, you want to rationalize that, most cases. So that's just going to give you 2 square root of 3 over 3. Okay? Now, the next one we had is cosine of 7 pi over 4. So 7 pi over 4, and let's remember 7 pi over 4, the pi's over 4s are 45 degrees. That means there's 7 of them. So there's just, that will be down in here. All right, because that would be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So there you are. Now I draw up to the x-axis. I know that's a 45 degree one. So this is 45. Well, that's not 45. That's 45. Wait. 45, 45, 90. And I know that point there is positive square root of 2 over 2 and negative square root of 2 over 2. Since we're doing, did I write it down? No, we're doing cosine 7 pi over 4. I know that equals my x, which is the square root of 2 over 2. All right, now let's do some more. We have sine of 4 pi over 3. So sine of 4 pi over 3. That means the 3 is a 60, and we have 4 of those. So that's 240 degrees. So it's about right in there, maybe. So that would be your 240 degrees there. Now if you just draw straight up, this is your initial side, and this is your terminal side. This is your terminal side. So this is 240 degrees, or 4 pi over 3. Now, what we want to do is just draw up here. I know the longer side is going to be square root of 3 over 2. And since it's in quadrant 3, it's negative. The shorter side is negative 1/2. So my point is negative 1/2, comma, negative square root of 3 over 2. Your y is always your vertical. Your x is always your horizontal. And sine is equals to y. So your y equals negative square root of 3 over 2. Do you notice how I'm not even, all I'm doing is drawing triangles. I'm not even drawing the circle. Okay, let's do a couple more here. Let's do some negatives. Let's say I have, let's do cosecant of, do I have secant? Let's do secant of pi. Secant of pi. Well, pi is just right here. We know that point is negative 1 comma 0. So what I do is I do cosine of pi. Cosine of pi is negative 1. And if you flip that, you're still going to get negative 1. And then let's do some negative ones. So let's say we have sine a negative 5 pi over 3. So we know that the 3 is a 60, so if I don't do the negative right now, I have 5 times 60, that equals 300. And then so it's negative. So that means you go, and I'm going to erase this right here, it means you go clockwise 300. You go 300. You're going to draw it here, which is there. You draw, this is your initial side. And there you go up. Now always draw down to the x. And then from there, we know we're at 60 here. The longer side, well, the shorter side is your x, your horizontal side, that's 1/2. Your longer side is square root of 3 over 2. And we need sine, so sine, that's going to be square root of 3 over 2. You could have also taken your negative 5 pi over 3 and added 2 pi to that to get it back into the range of, we want it between 0 and 2 pi. When you add 2 pi, you have to have the common denominator. So what I do is I just put a 3 in here. 2 times 3 is 6, so I change this to 6. When you add that, you get pi over 3. We know, pi over 3, and we know that equals 60 degrees. Okay, so that's another way to think about it. Just think about it in terms of triangles. And the last note I want to bring up is tangent. For tangent, those are the ones that are most missed. And for tangent, these are your common answers. So if you have 1 over 0, that would be undefined. For this one, and then it's plus and minus depending on what quadrant you're in, the 1 would be these, the 45 ones. If you divide these two, whether it be plus or minus, you're going to get plus or minus 1. And if you have 0 divided by 1, that equals 0. Now for these two, just remember if it's 1/2 divided by square root of 3 over 2, then the 2's would cancel, and that equals 1 over square root of 3. And you rationalize the denominator, so you get square root of 3 over 3. So if you have a fraction that looks like that, your answer is going to be square root of 3 over 3. But if you have it the other way, if you have square root of 3 over 2 divided by 1/2, that just gives you square root of 3. And again, this would be plus or minus, depending on what quadrant you're in. Remember, tan and cotan are both positive in quadrants 1 and quadrants 3. They're negative in quadrants 3 and 4. So those are just some tricks that you can use. I always use the major functions and then flip it for the minor ones. And remember these. Some common mistakes are these. Some students will do this. So say I'm asking for sine of pi over 3. Well, some students will write that the answer is 60 degrees. Well, I'm not asking for, we know that pi over 3 is equivalent to 60 degrees. This is radians, and this, but not sine of pi over 3. So that would be wrong. We also know that when you do 60 degrees here, see how I'm just drawing a triangle? I know my x is 1/2, and my y is square root of 3 over 2. And what students will do is just write that. Well, that's not the answer. That's just the ordered pair that goes here. So make sure you just pick the y, because we know that sine is your y. Okay? That's it. Thank you. Have a nice day. Bye-bye.